Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube page, where I'm always breaking down the hot sports topics of the day. So be sure to subscribe to my channel here to get all of my videos delivered directly to your inbox. Thought I'd take some time today to discuss the NFC playoffs, but most notably how the Seahawks are emerging as that team no one wants to face come playoff time. They clinched the playoff berth last night, winning their fourth game in a row, beating the 49ers 42-13. It looks as though this team will be the 5 seed in the NFC playoffs. If the 49ers can beat the lowly Cardinals next week at home, they still clinch the NFC West. So I don't see any reason why the 49ers would lose that game. So Seattle is firmly in that 5 seed in the NFC. So I look for them to have a first round game versus that NFC East winner, whoever that happens to be, and they'll obviously have to go on the road to play that game. Seattle is dangerous from a lot of perspectives. So what we have to look at is they've won 4 in a row. 2 of those games have been on the road. Well, one of them was on the road. The Chicago game was on the road. The Buffalo game was sort of a quasi-neutral site game up in Toronto. But still, my point is it wasn't a home game. And the knock on Seattle has been for several years is, well, they play good at home, but what happens when they go on the road? And although their road record is not fantastic by any means, I'll also like to point out the fact that they haven't really got blown out in any game this year. If you look at most teams in the NFL and you look at their schedule, there's very few teams that have gone the whole year without having one real big hiccup and getting blown out. And that's something the Seahawks have avoided. And that tells me that, one, their defense is stout. Okay, that their defense keeps them in every game, and that for the most part, their offense avoids those big games where they have 4 or 5 turnovers a game. I think another big factor that contributes to them being in every game is they have a dominating running game. A dominating running game keeps the other offense off the field, and in most cases keeps you from really turning the ball over. So I look for those to be benefits for the Seahawks in the playoffs as well. The only concerns for me in the playoffs for the Seahawks is sort of 2 things. One is the status of their cornerbacks, Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman. I know Richard Sherman has avoided suspension thus far. Browner's serving his right now. Is Sherman going to miss playoff games? If he does, I think that could kind of obviously hurt the Seahawks. Their best part of their defense is A, their secondary, and B, their pass rush. And I think both are complementary of each other, and they sort of work together. And I think you see with the Seahawks is all of a sudden a team that has a ton of talent, right? I mean, you look at their secondary, whether it's the 2 younger cornerbacks, Sherman and Browner. You have obviously Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. You have pass rushers who are emerging. I mean, how many people on draft night thought the Seahawks were crazy for drafting Bruce Irvin, the pass rush specialist out of West Virginia? With the draft coverage I was watching, everyone was ripping that pick. It looks like a pretty good pick right now, doesn't it? He looks like an excellent complementary piece to the defense that they've developed. Whether you look at their offense and the emergence of Marshawn Lynch, there was people who said, why would you give Marshawn Lynch that much money in the offseason? Well, look, they gave him the money, and look how he's performed. Okay, he's been, for my money, the second best running back in the NFL this year. Obviously, Adrian Peterson's on a completely different level, but Marshawn Lynch having a great year. They brought in Matt Flynn, but they didn't give him the job. I thought that was a good move. Why are you just going to give a guy like Matt Flynn the job? He had one good game. He's certainly a good quarterback. I'm not knocking Matt Flynn, but they had an open quarterback competition. The guy who played the best got the starting job, which I don't think happens a lot in the NFL. I think when you have these so-called quote-unquote position battles, I think the coaching staff knows who they want to start all along. They just like to put a nice face on it by saying it's a battle or a competition. They give the job to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has had his growing pains in spots, but has gotten better as the season has gone on. And I think when you add all those together, that I'm not too scared of the Seattle going on the road in the playoffs. Maybe a month ago I was, after that loss to the Dolphins, where it seemed like their defense would really crumble in big spots on the road. They've gotten better in that respect. They've absolutely dominated their opponents the last month. And I don't think that can be ignored. I don't think they're a team anymore you can say, oh, they'll win at home, but that's it. I haven't been a full believer in them all year, but, I am now. And, they're going to give whoever wins that NFC East and is that 4 seed, they're going to give them a run for their money. And then down the line, whoever they face in that divisional round, if they get there, they'll give them trouble too. But again, Seahawks are an emerging team here. They now sit at 10-5, locked up a wild card. What do you think of the Seahawks? Do you think they're for real? Do you think they're going to have trouble still when they go on the road in that first round of the playoffs, as I predict they will? Because I think the 49ers win this week. Let me know. Hit me up on my YouTube comments here. Subscribe to my channel again. And look, hit me up on Twitter as well, @SNewsAnalysis. Thanks, guys.